Now this is the one that really got to me. After us spending all that time hiking up there, which was supposed to be just a hop, skip, and a jump, Larry, we took about 4 hours to get up there. The staged BS, what do you have to say about that? I mean, in lieu of your arms and all of those things.
We could only proceed at the pace of the slowest person. And I'm 80 years old. That's the reason, one of the reasons it took so long. Plus the fact that from where we introduced the program, you couldn't see the washes. And you all decided to take this a straight line to the shortest point or whatever. And we got off into a wash that was so heavily brushed because of all the rain we'd had at that time, that we had to go well past where we wanted to get out and double back. And on the way out, we were coming down this 60% slope, and I took a fall and wrapped my left leg up underneath me and blew my knee out. Dave, I weigh 200 pounds, and Dave had to come over and pick me right up off the ground and get me on my feet, and then I was able to cripple out. And I hope you'll show a picture of my arms after I got through rolling down that hill. I staged that.
It's all staged. Everything was staged. We had a makeup person on set for the whole thing, and it was green screened. And if you believe that, then you might as well just stop watching the show from now on altogether. I will tell you, we don't lie to people. We just present the facts as they're presented to us.
They explained that I'm telling you what Hart Mullins told me. Who was dead long before we'd done this program, but he was. It's unbelievable to me how people can watch something or read something and misconstrue so much stuff about it. I think I mentioned several times that he wasn't digging in an ore vein; he was looking for a cache, and you know, just to the north of there is where Rogers Canyon is, and the Silver Chief mine back in those days that Ron Feldman and Bob Schuess got permission from the Forest Service to open that up, you know. And if that truly was one of the mines up at Rogers, then they would be going out down Hewlett Canyon to go back to Mexico with their load. So what a perfect place that was to leave a cache that they couldn't carry.
Obviously not a place for any mining was done, but as we talked about, it is a perfect place to store something, a cache. And you mentioned it, bless him, Tom Cullenborn, who passed away right after we did this, said when you showed it to him, he didn't even know that was there.
Oh.
And, but it is. And at that point, the way we went, it was hard to get there. That's all we're saying. We said, don't try this because it wasn't safe. However, there probably is a safer way, but it'll still take time to get there. And the nice thing I like about this is they have the best example of 3 red hills right there that I have seen. Perfect example. I truly believe that that's where everything was happening back in those days, because you had the Silver King, you had Pinal, you had things that were actually going on back there, and I believe that that's where everything was. Unfortunately now, or fortunately for some people, I guess, that whole area is. They had the massive fire, and it started in that area, didn't it? Hewlett Canyon. And
I've been looking at the maps every day of the burn areas, and it sure looks like it started right there at the parking lot at the entrance to Rogers Canyon.
The interesting thing to me is I live in the south part of East Mesa, and I go for a walk every night, and I went out onto the street, which you can see during the day, the Superstitions. I'm not right there, but it's within about 20 minutes, you know, as the crow flies to get there on the freeway. And I saw all these lights lining the mountain near Peralta there. And what are all those lights? I said, they must be the miners, or not the miners, but the firefighters and so forth up there. No, it was the fire. Mm-hmm. And it just, people were stopping there on the street. It was Meridian and Elliott. So that's not real close, but it's close enough. And I mean, it was very, very distinct. It was there, and people were stopping to take a look at it, and they'd say to me, "Is that the fire up there?" I go, "Yeah, it is." So it was closer than a lot of people think, but it worked its way back in the mountain, and now, like we said, it would be interesting to go back to Hewlett Canyon, Bayou Butte, that area, and compare now, sadly, as to when we were up there, and see what the devastation is. You know, this, as hot as it gets down here, it's hotter up there. And just one little spark can cause this a fire like that. Anyway, that's basically what I have right now to talk about, other than we need to talk about the, and you have some stuff here that we need to get to, other than there were some comments of people saying that my opens, intros and outros, opens and closes, and my questions to the answers that the guest gives it's obvious that they are done at a different location than where the interview took place. And we never tried to lie to anybody or say that we did, other than it, you know, we did talk to the person, like Jane's right here, and I would talk to her, you know, as if that person's there. I mean, I'm not going to be going, well, you know, tell us, no. I mean, yeah, there is a reason why sometimes we don't shoot at the same location. And the funny thing is, the one I saw was on one that we did with Bob Bowes Bell, where he said you don't shoot at the same location. And I was sitting there looking right at him. He was there, I was there, the same room. And that's the one where I got, "You're not in the same location." Yeah, I was. But there is a reason why many times that we don't ask the questions there. It's because Dave and Jane, our producers here, they need to go back and look at the footage and see where the breaks are for questions and what's pertinent to the video. And that is done back in, you know, back in the studio or what have you, where they look at the footage. We don't use a script. We know what we're going after generally as far as what the person has to say. Sometimes we get some really good surprises from them, like with Clay, you know, and we have some really good stuff. And so we aren't scripted. We don't sit there as some of these shows do, and I've been on some reality shows where they want to talk about the superstitions, and they will sit there right across me and like Jane's right here, and I'll say, "Well, Jane, tell us, what is the mystery of the superstitions? Why do people go mad?" And I'll say, well, I'll give her an answer, you know, a rational answer. But why? What is up there? What is up there that frightens people so much? You know, and they'll lead you. They'll lead the questioning, and you've had that, I'm sure. And so you give them you try to give them the truth within the parameters of what they give you, and sometimes they're not happy with it. But we don't do that. We let the guests talk. You know that. When you started with us, you weren't a producer.
We're doing it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're doing it right now, but we are together. Actually, we are not at the same place. This is done with Trick Photography. We are absolutely not in the same location together. We don't even like each other. That's why they have to shoot us separately. No, but you know, we don't know what the questions exactly are going to be until we get it there and are in post. And well,
let me address that if you don't mind.
No, absolutely, go with it.
When we Dave here has some very good equipment, and we can go into the mountains with his camera, and his audio stuff is all on batteries. No problem. But when it comes to editing, we haven't found an extension cord long enough to take the editing equipment out there because it's not on batteries. So they have to go back to their studio at their house and edit. We always shoot more footage than usual, and like you say, it's not scripted. You ask me a question and I'm on my own. And I'm just reading off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
And then
Right
of
here,
course,
off the cuff.
Of course, they've got to go in and edit all that extra footage out. And why would you go back out there 50
Well, it's
miles
like
to the
going-
same place to
it's-
ask the question?
That prospect or the cache out there by Bayou Spute. Well, of course, we didn't know, well, you hadn't been up there in many, many decades, and we had no idea what we were going to find up there. I wasn't even going to go all the way, and Dave got up there and said, Charlie, you got to come up and look at this. Well, yeah, okay, you're right. And then get up there, look down, and go, wow, I'm not going to go down there. Look at that ladder. That's been here forever. And say, well, I'm here. I've got to go down. I've got to see what's down there. And I did, and that's why it confused me, these people saying, when are you going to go down there? But we don't know what we're going to find. We don't know what shape it's going to be. We have no idea until Jane actually looks at the footage, and I imagine you, Jane's right here, one of the producers, you actually look at the footage and see what questions should be asked. And Dave, and that's when we have to do it. And we're not going back up to that cache. Again, I guess we could green screen if we wanted to do that and say that, but we're not going to. Everything that we do and say, we did and we said in the location that we did and said it. Now, if I do the questions in a different location, I'm sorry, but it's important to do that so that we get the questions just right. So when you see the shows, I would say maybe 50% of the time we are at that location, maybe even a little more when we do it, because it's easy to get the questions. And sometimes we do come in with some questions. So I guess in that way it is kind of scripted, but we don't know what they're going to say. We don't lead people on. So there you have it. Sorry. Just know that we try and get it at the location as much as possible, but there are some times when there's some nuggets that surprise us, or some things that the producers have to go back and editor, go back, take a look at and see how it should be worded to go into their answer. So there you have it. So now you have some.
That was my main one about shooting at different locations. It's just sometimes absolutely necessary. And in the point of Clay, in the interview we did with Clay, we wouldn't have known to ask that question until he told the story. And then during the editing, we had to ask that question. And it wasn't at the same place.
And you need to go back and see the video to see what that question is. But that's the thing. So we get these gems from people, and like Dave was shooting and Clay was saying some things, filling in some information, some stories we had heard many times, but he had information we had never heard before.
Yeah.
And we're looking at each other and this is golden, this is golden.
Yeah.
And I was there. I could ask the questions right there, but there was so much when Jane and Dave went back to look at the footage. There were so many little tidbits in there that needed some questioning to them that we didn't know at the time. We were just, wow, listen to this is good stuff. And so we don't know that until afterwards.
Right.
So we have to go back and do that. And if we ask him questions there and it's shot there, and then they go back and they look and go, well, they didn't ask this and this. If we're gonna get that in, then we have to go either back to Clay's, or we have to shoot it here at Hedricksville or wherever, the museum, Superstition Mountain Museum. And that's why, that's it. You had that to address too. And we've been getting that from some people lately, not a lot, but a handful. And so that's why. So we're not gonna hide anything from you. Yes, many times we do shoot the open, the close, the intro and outro, and the questions at a different location so that we can be specific with the questions that we ask, so that we can get the right timbre of their answer to the question. Now, I'm getting quite philosophical there, but that's why we do it that way. Yeah. Now, to the gentleman out there that all his comment was, Charlie, cut your hair. That was it. When I'm good and ready. Actually, I do westerns, and I wish I had the guy's name down here. I do a lot of westerns and stuff, and I've always kept my hair, frankly, pretty much long since I was about 14. I like it that way, and I'll cut it every now and then. But you know, I'm not going to do it because you say so. Sorry, I'll even, you know, I'm just. But thank you for your concern. You know, I appreciate that. So there you have it.
Yep.
So I guess that about does it for this one, unless you have anything else you want to touch base on. Now is your time. Any grievances, anything of wisdom that you want to impart, now's the time to do it.
I've said about everything I want to say, and all people have to do is pay a little more attention to the show. I mean, you took a picture at the bottom of the dig of me up on top.
And Dave was there too.
And Dave was on another level.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He was on a second level, which was closer to you, but you were in the bottom of it. I didn't go down because my legs were gone, and I proved that by falling down the mountain. But when you're 80 years old, then you complain that you took a trip like that.
Any age going down that ladder, we were unsure how safe that was, and I have to say what we generally try to get across is don't go up to these places and say, oh, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to take a look because it's here and I want to. It was maybe foolish, but from the people that have said, why didn't you go down there? WTF, wildly terrific fun or whatever. Why didn't you go down there? I did. We were there. It was such a bother getting up there. We bothered to get up there. I just figured before we went, I had to go down there because if you remember, when we got there, we both looked down and said, I'm not going to go down there. I'm not going to go down there. And then I thought, oh.
We had to scale a 20-foot straight up cliff to get up on to that mine.
That's true. That's true. The way we went, yes. People, when you find these areas, and a lot of them have already been covered up by the rangers up there and the wilderness people. I have pros and con philosophy about that whole thing that maybe we can talk about on a different show. But there's a lot of stuff that's been covered up there. This is just one thing that they didn't know about,
yep.
And they find out about it. It's probably going to get covered up, you know. But be careful. Don't go in these digs and so forth. If you know, there are mines up there that you don't know what it looks like inside, and there could be snakes. And I've run into one. Snake. It wasn't up in those mountains, but it was close by, over by the coke ovens. And so just don't do it unless you're a reporter and you have to get down there and do it. But no more saying, when are you going to go back up and go down there? Go back up and go down there. I did it. It's been done. Case closed. WTF. Weird, terrific fun. And they got the weird in there now. Okay, so anyway, I guess that does it for this program. For today, we're going to wrap it up. From time to time, we will read comments and questions in here and appreciate them, whether they're good or bad. At least you're watching, and we appreciate it. Please do us a favor and tell your friends so that they can subscribe to our show. It's free. And we are on YouTube and Amazon Prime. But if you're watching on Amazon Prime, just make a trip over to YouTube and press the subscribe button. Absolutely free. It looks good for us, and we can keep going with the show. So that does it for this episode of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains. I guess the mystery that we come away with on this show is the mystery of why so many people ask why we didn't go down into that cache. And the answer is we did, or I did. So you're asking this question constantly is just one of the mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.